ASEAN's regional cooperation. As you know, we have the ASEAN community established since the end of last year. So you have to know what kind of arrangement, what kind of cooperation ASEAN has, as we are part of the ASEAN community. You are not Indonesian alone, you are ASEAN citizen as well. As you are Thai and also you are ASEAN citizen. Today I would talk about the development of ASEAN, its formations since 1967, and also its involvement throughout the years. It has been more than a few decades, 3-4 decades already, since the formation of ASEAN, and ASEAN has modified its functions and its nature of cooperation throughout the years. After that, I will focus more on the ASEAN economy, as it has big impacts on ASEAN's integration. And I will also touch on the ASEAN political and security community, and also another pillar of ASEAN's community, that is the ASEAN socio-cultural community. And I will make analysis of the ASEAN's cooperation. After that, we'll talk more about the challenges of ASEAN's cooperation and its prospects for future cooperation. And many people have asked, what will be the future of ASEAN? So I will discuss major issues that have potential for ASEAN's future cooperation beyond the ASEAN community in 2015. Right now, we have the ASEAN Leaders Meeting in Vientiane. We call that the ASEAN Summit. Together with the summit, we also have many other meetings, ASEAN +1, like ASEAN meeting with Obama, ASEAN meeting with various leaders of the dialogue partners. ASEAN has a lot of dialogue partners like Australia, New Zealand, India, China, Japan, South Korea, America, Russia, for example. So apart from ASEAN +1, ASEAN also have like ASEAN +3 and ASEAN +6. I will explain that later on. So we are in the middle of many diplomatic activities in East Asia, and ASEAN is the cornerstone or the center of international gravity. It has a lot of linkages and relations with external powers, ranging from European leaders to American leaders and also Chinese leaders. So things have moved very fast, and we have to understand the changing nature of the East Asian regional cooperation so that we can plan ahead what we should do with our future, because our future lies not within our own country but with our own region as well. Before we had ASEAN, the region of Southeast Asia was not the same. It was a region of conflicts, of tension. We were on the verge of war after the post-World War period. For example, Indonesia and Malaysia, you have confrontation in 1962 until 1966. You were about to wage war because of the conflicts in Borneo Island, in how you call that island, Kalimantan, that part of Indonesia. Because you have to know that our territory in Southeast Asia are legacy of the colonial era. It was marked by colonial powers. So sometimes it was against the history of the region. It was against the cultural development or cultural legacy. Sometimes it cut across people who have the same ethnic groups, or same religion, but it was a kind of artificial territory. So after independence, Indonesia and Malaysia claimed the history of their territorial control in certain parts of Borneo Island. It's the same with the Philippines. The Philippines and Malaysia also had conflict over Sabah because Sabah used to be part of the Sultan of Mindanao. In the old days, centuries ago, Sultan Mindanao also controlled part of Sabah. And also, it was similar because Sultan Brunei used to control part of the Philippines as well, also part of Malaysia nowadays. So we had conflict between Philippines and Malaysia. Also we had arguments between Singapore and Malaysia. After the independence, Singapore and Malaysia were the same country. They were part of Malaya. But in 1963, the Malaysian leader asked Singapore to leave Malaysia. Why? Because of the different races, different ethnicity. On the one hand, Malaysia is dominated by Malay people, but Singapore, whose majority of population are Chinese. So they had some kind of different worldviews. So in 1965, Singapore seceded from Malaysia. Lee Kuan Yew was so sad when he was forced to leave Malaysia because Singapore was just a tiny country. And at the time, it was so difficult to survive as a nation, which is a small country with small armed forces. But Singapore proved to be very fruitful, very successful in terms of diplomatic maneuver. It could survive because it got support from many external powers, especially America. Also, we have a lot of separate groups in Southeast Asia. Mindanao trying to be an independent country from the Philippines. Mindanao is the southern island of the Philippines, and it was the majority of people Muslim people. In southern Thailand, especially border provinces with Malaysia like Pattani, Yala, Nathriwat, for example, they were also dominated by Muslim people, and they had long history of the Pattani kingdom. So they're trying to separate the areas from Thailand to be a Pattani state. So with all these conflicts, it was difficult to have this kind of big regional cooperation encompassing almost all nations of Southeast Asia at the time. But we had some kind of external factors which influenced the region and forced many countries to come to the table and to negotiate for some kind of regional arrangement. And that was communism or the whole war. So during that time, Thailand trying to act as a mediator for many Southeast Asian nations. Thailand acts as a broker between Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines to find common grounds and reduce tension. That's why when Thailand invited ASEAN leaders at the time, Southeast Asian leaders before ASEAN, to come to Bangkok and to negotiate for the Bangkok Declaration to establish ASEAN. That's why it took place in Bangkok, because Thailand acted as mediator for some time between Southeast Asian nations. Also, the region at the time had a lot of poverty. Majority of people at the time were poor people, and the economy was still much less developed. So because of the poverty, because of the regional conflicts, and because of the interference by external powers, especially China, Russia, and America, so we had a lot of social influence in the region, especially in Vietnam. After the Second World War, the French tried to come back to Southeast Asia to take control of Indochina. So China and Russia supported Viet Cong. Ho Chi Minh was the leader, independence leader of Vietnam, and he adopted socialist view, Marxist view, and he got support from China especially, and from Russia. So in the end, Ho Chi Minh took control of North Vietnam, and in the end, they had to negotiate it for Paris Agreement with South Vietnam and the French. So the French decided to withdraw from Vietnam because it could not win over the war in Indochina. The French were losing the war. So the French asked the American to take its place. And the American it came into the region because it wanted to stop communism from spreading into Southeast Asia. You know, the Americans did the same thing in Europe. They tried to stop the invasion of communism from Russia into Europe. So at the time we had EU. At the time it was the EC, European Community, on the one hand, and the Comecon on the other hand. The Comecon consisted of communist states in Eastern Europe with Russia. So because of the Cold War, we had arms race, we have proxy wars between different states, given support by superpowers. So after 1950s, 1960s, the American sent hundreds of thousands of troops into Vietnam trying to fight the Viet Cong, trying to help South Vietnam to maintain its liberal capitalism regime. But gradually the American lost ground in South Vietnam, in Laos and in Cambodia. Viet Cong could spread into South Vietnam, and they won support from the villagers, from the people. And the American bombed Laos, bombed Cambodia, bombed Vietnam a lot. It was estimated that the explosion caused by the Americans in Indochina was much larger in volume than the bombing during the Second World War in Europe. Can you imagine? As of now, there are still 80 million bombs unexploded in Laos, because huge number, millions of bombs they planted in Laos. So during this last summit in Vientiane, the Americans gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Laos to find those bombs. Millions of bombs still remain in Laos. So sometimes when you see a movie, even not in a movie, in the news, people in Cambodia, when they plant rice, they step on the bomb since the Indochina War, so they lost their leg. The farmers, it still happens regularly in Laos, Cambodia, in Vietnam. So because of that, because of the spreading of communism, so in the end, in the late 1960s, the Americans were forced to leave Vietnam because of the pressure in America. There were big protests in America that people want America to withdraw from Vietnam because they could not win the war, and thousands of young American men died in the war. So people were not happy. In the end, the Congress forced American government to withdraw its troops from Vietnam. The withdrawal of American troops from Vietnam marked the beginning of risk, political and strategic risk in Southeast Asia. At the time, people talk about the domino theory. Have you heard of the domino theory? If one domino fell, it will cause repercussions. So if Vietnam fell, then Laos and Cambodia will fall to communism, and it proved to be the case. After South Vietnam fall to communism in 1975, Laos and Cambodia became communism because of the spread of communism into those countries. And Thailand served as the frontline state in 1975. That's why Thailand rushed to bring in regional cooperation to withstand the threat from communism, and trying to work together to strengthen the regional economy and regional political standing to survive from this kind of threat. Not only threat from the east, also threat from the western border of Thailand, because Burma at the time had a coup, and they overthrew capitalist regime in Burma, and the new leader in Burma at the time, in 1962, they adopted socialist kind of policy. You know, Burma's socialist way of doing things, different from communism, but very socialist. They confiscate land from the people. They control the economy by the state, for example. So, on the other hand, Southeast Asian states were largely dominated by authoritarian regimes at the time. Marcos in the Philippines, Suharto in Indonesia, Thanom, Kittikachorn, Thailand, military, Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, Tunku Abdul Rahman in Malaysia. They control the country strongly. So because of the Vietnam War, because of the conflict, because of communism, because of the reduced tensions in Southeast Asia, that's why these countries can come to the negotiating table. And actually before ASEAN, we had some kind of regional initiatives, ASA in 1961, MAFIL.